Many of us know a small business owner. They're the people that wake up every day with the motivation to make the most of every opportunity. They're risk takers, they're doers, shakers, innovators, they're creatives, they're visionaries. But what inspires these people to take that leap of faith and jump into creating their own business? In an economy like the one that we're in, how can we create more opportunities for these leaders to emerge? And how can we spearhead the Enterprise for Equity in our community? Enterprise for Equity is a local nonprofit organization that believes in the power of business ownership for entrepreneurs from all backgrounds, regardless of income, place of origin, gender, race, or education. We believe that what makes an entrepreneur is the ability to dream and the courage to take action. And we're committed to equipping future entrepreneurs with the skills, mindset, and tools to succeed. Our mission is to ensure that people with limited incomes in the South Sound region have access to credit, technical assistance, training, and support for small business development. These services are provided with the belief that people can and do transform their lives as they bring their strengths, initiative, and dreams to their entrepreneurial efforts.
One of the reasons why Enterprise for Equity has had such a powerful connection in our community is a substantial root system created by organizations active here in the late 90s. Organizations like the Sustainable Community Roundtable, which was working with the City of Olympia to develop indicators of sustainability, the Olympia Friends Meeting and the local chapter of Results, and several other organizations like these planted the seeds for the Enterprise for Equity we have today.
There are 7 branches that make up the mission and vision of Enterprise for Equity: financial well-being, sustainability, equity, leadership and civic engagement, economic impact, rural entrepreneurship, and advocacy. Today I want to introduce you to individuals that each represent Enterprise for Equity.
Enterprise for Equity gave me the foundation that gave me the confidence to do big and silly and ridiculous adventures with my business.
Recognizing that there was profit and combining that with a social purpose concept and model that cared for people, the mission, the purpose, along with profit.
We came to the program paycheck to paycheck. We were starting this, so the wheels had begun, but we came at it without a very strong financial plan, no cash flow projections, and our personal finances were very tight. Because Enterprise for Equity was on a sliding scale and offered a payment program, that made it actually attainable for us.
So tell us some of the tools that you learned from Enterprise for Equity that helped you manage your personal finance and your business finances.
Learning how to have a real cash flow projection. And number 2, understanding how to utilize a bookkeeper and accountant.
The Business Readiness Workshop allowed me to develop better tools, define what I needed to work on, allowed me to operate as a farmer without anxiety.
I'm not really good with a number, and doing the workshop, they helped me go through every detail that what should I concern in every part that's related to the financially,
We did Enterprise for Equity, and that was an opportunity for us to really write a business plan together and learn some of the more businessy end of things, because we were all pretty into the food or the health, but not necessarily the business side. So it was really critical, and it helped a lot, and we were able to grow more as a result, and I think grow smarter.
Historically, I, especially as somebody who comes from a financially unstable background and has carried those habits into adulthood, I knew I didn't want to put myself in that position with my business, especially since it was going to be my business.
How has Enterprise for Equity helped prepare you to run a triple bottom line business, like People, Profit, Planet?
Well, the concept of a triple bottom line business was new to me, but I've always thought that bicycles embody a green lifestyle.
You need to remember that operating in the farm, we're using water, we're operating in a common watershed that the public has an ownership of. And so one of the ways that we directly changed is we've really struggled to remove all plastics from our operating system. Our oysters are beach grown now.
We won our first Good Food Award in 2012, I think, and I think we've won 8 now. That is, it's put on by the Seedlings Project, which is a nonprofit based in San Francisco, but the award is national, and it looks at sustainability and whether or not you're organic and if you use local ingredients, and then also, of course, taste is very important. And so we have done really well there. I think we've always prioritized the real quality of the product in both our sourcing and the flavor, and we've had a lot of time to hone those recipes, and I think that has helped, and it shows. Like, I'm excited.
Tasting spoons. Tasting spoons are the #1 way, I think, to really cut back on adding to the landfill. So we use all metal tasting spoons, so they're reusable. We do use compostable to-go containers if necessary, but we also use metal dishes that we wash.
Our bike shop specializes in reconditioning used bikes and repairing bikes that need repair. So we offer the option of keeping old bikes going as opposed to replacing with new.
Partnering with local farmers is not only great for our food, the way it tastes, it's great for the local economy.
So tell us some ways that your business helps support rural entrepreneurs.
We source most of our produce in the summer from a local farmer. She specifically grows crops for us. Her name is Evan Berry, and she owns Lady Berry Produce. And it's really great. It's a great relationship because not only do we get wonderful local produce, she knows that if she plants crops, she's guaranteed to sell them. She knows that she has a buyer for what she's growing every year.
Sourcing rurally is actually a really big part of our business. We feel really fortunate to be located in such a perfect place in Olympia. We are only 2 blocks from the farmers market, and we are also only a handful of miles from our farm, which is called Tuna Worth. They are a family-owned farm, and not only are they a local farm, but they also make the best product.
So we choose to buy as many of our ingredients as we can from farmers in our region, and those are all organic farmers. A lot of them are in Western Washington, and so we are keeping that money circulating in our community, in those farms where they're taking care of our resources like soil and water. They're growing really amazing food, and they're paying their employees here in the Pacific Northwest, and they're also treating their employees more fairly.
So how has Enterprise for Equity helped you get engaged in your community, and what's the most rewarding thing about that?
I find it incredibly important to stay engaged in the community as often as possible. That was always my goal from the very beginning of wanting to have a business. I knew that I was going to maintain a tie to the community in all kinds of ways. I, #1, find donating to be incredibly important, but I also find participating in events, volunteering, and advocacy as very essential.
I know for a fact if you're given a step, then you can take 2 steps, 5 steps, 10 steps forward, and that step can also support someone else.
I think a lot of times their success is judged based on profitability, and I think that it should be judged more on how engaged they are in their communities.
One of my favorite moments was being able to actually go to the state capitol and advocate for programs like this. And I met Mr. Wilcox, and it was fantastic, and I got to state my case and show off my evergreen cover photo, and all of that led to, well, success.
I'm really engaged in the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and I'm also greatly engaged in Slow Food, Slow Fish. And both of these, Slow Food, Slow Fish is really oriented on small-scale communities, food sovereignty, food advocacy, And you can't mess around with our food system. You can't mess around with what you're putting in your body. In working with Farmer Veteran Coalition, again, it gets back to leadership and supporting your teammates and your team members. When you look at a veteran that's trying to get into agriculture and helping them be resilient and strong, robust, and healthy contributors to our communities, to our local economy, and our local food system is incredibly rewarding.
Well, our shop makes donations to the Evergreen Bike Shop, to the Intercity Transit Bike Shop, to Build a Bike on the east side of town. We make it easier for folks with less resources to get around as best as we can. Eggy Hop, the Emma Goldman Youth and Homeless Outreach Program. It's a mainstay of downtown Olympia for as long as I've been in this town. We really do whatever we can to make it easier for those guys to get around by bike and to distribute food, warm clothing. They have a needle exchange program, and we support all the work that they do.
We have a pay it forward program for houseless folks, and it's part of our way of like reaching back and helping the community, which is something that's really, really important to us. Together we're able to make like a big change in people's lives, providing a safe and stable like work environment for a lot of marginalized people. We have a considerable number of like trans staff, and we had like one, and then they refer to friend, and they refer to friend, and it's because their pronouns are respected, they feel safe. This is something that was important to us and that we wanted to incorporate into our business.
Fundamental to the economy that works for everyone is a belief that all of us are going to be better off when all of us are better off. We believe businesses owned by people with limited incomes, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, veterans, people with disabilities, people exiting the prison system, and others, creates a truly equitable and prosperous economy. You know, looking back at our first 2 decades in operation, we've had many inspiring successes and experienced failure from which we've grown and refined our vision and mission. During our first 5 or 6 years, we were just figuring out how to provide training and technical assistance, making mistakes and establishing new practices. Between 2005 and 2009, we were able to develop structures for our little nonprofit to apply for larger grants, as well as deepen our training and guidance we provided. From 2009 onward, we've been able to innovate. We've launched our financial education classes and also support the Asset Building Coalition. We opened up the workforce system to support people who wanted to explore self-employment instead of employment training. We began contracting with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation to support entrepreneurs with disabilities. And at that time also we partnered with the Timberland Regional Library to open up opportunities for people to get a library card and do all their business research for free at the library. These were huge breakthroughs for our entrepreneurs that we served.
Cheryl, thanks so much for meeting with us today.
My pleasure.
So tell us about your connection with Enterprise for Equity.
Goes back a long way. So Lisa Smith, the executive director, came to me, I believe back in 2003, and begged me to provide a class to her students on marketing and research at the public library. And so we started that year with, it was a 3-hour class. The students came in at 8 a.m., they stayed until 11, and we did a deep, deep dive into the library's resources. And this was resources for starting a small business and business plans and how to do a search for this information in terms of Timberland's resources. We started at the Olympia Timberland Library, and now Enterprise for Equity is at Naselle, in Ilwaco, this is in Pacific County, in Grays Harbor, at Aberdeen, and the McCleary Libraries, and in Shelton and Mason County. And we've expanded the topics to include agricultural and for farming, and as well as for artists. And so it's just been so fun to be part of the journey with Enterprise for Equity, to be able to help people be successful in their lives. And so there's so much that we have in common. Enterprise for Equity and Timberland Regional Library are all about people. and helping people with their aspirations and their inspirations. And it's been a phenomenal ride and a phenomenal partnership since 2003. And we could not have done that without Lisa's leadership.
Later on in 2014, we began working with the Department of Veterans Affairs and Grubb and others to reach and support more veteran farmers. And now we're partnering statewide with the Farmer Veteran Coalition. Enterprise for Equity became a private career school with a Washington State Workforce Training Education Coordinating Board, which has opened doors to more entrepreneurs seeking quality business training programs.
So why is it important to support the work that Enterprise for Equity does in this region?
It is so important to support the work of Enterprise for Equity in this region. Jobs, either like jobs going to work for a company or starting their own business.
The mission of Enterprise Equity is what won me to be on for these many years. I'm a financial regulator. My work involves protecting consumers to ensure that consumers get a fair share in the marketplace by getting information that they need to make decisions that affect their lives. I'm passionate about Enterprise for Equity because it is a grassroots organization that empowers limited income folks so that they can rise up in their communities, and when the least limited income folks are able to rise up in the communities, it raises the level of entrepreneurship, it raises the level of incomes, and the communities flourish and thrive. That's my passion for Enterprise for Equity.
We all know, I mean, when you have thriving small businesses and when you're investing in people, they in turn do the same. So I know that these businesses go on to create jobs, to create networks of support with each other, to create their own partnerships, you know, the kind that WCCU is doing with Enterprise for Equity. They give back further to the community. So it's the ripple effect. And I think it also puts just sort of, it puts a flag in the ground for who we are in the South Sound.
There's no other entity that could do the work that Enterprise of Equity does. The executive director, Lisa, started from ground zero and brought in very capable board members. Squaxin Tribe members are on the board. A strong group of women, very capable, serving the state and the tribes who are also involved. And then, of course, some of us who are financial regulators felt we could lend a hand to help the organization. So that the community flourish has been the main linchpin and the main touchstone for me, for my involvement in the organization.
We bootstrapped very much in the beginning, and so we've never looked super exciting to banks. We were just very small and kept everything very tight. And so the ability to get a loan, which our first formal loan was through Enterprise for Equity, was amazing. And so we used that money to buy, I think, to put in our new cooler at the time, which was a huge step for us. We needed that because we needed to have a bigger space for fermenting. So we did some shuffling in the building, and that was extremely helpful. We actually ended up doing 2. We have grown to have about 17 employees. We are selling in the Pacific Northwest, which is Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska, and then we have added in parts of California, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and Hawaii.
From going through the program and recognizing that capital is essential, and a lot of times you step out on pure faith, but you have the instruction and the learning tools to support it, but you think, oh, I can do this with no capital, or I can just do this with very little capital. But I've recognized that so many Black businesses start underfunded, and that's a main reason why they don't succeed, because of the lack of capital. And so looking at the Small Business Administration PPP loan and the small percentage of small businesses were about 23%, and the even smaller percent of businesses were Black-owned business, and those were about 3%. So where do you go when you can't find capital? And so I thank God for Enterprise for Equity and believing in my dream, supporting my dream, and financially being there as a partner in that dream. It has grown, and I couldn't have done it. Right when we applied for that loan, we were in the midst of expanding into employees, and that could never have happened without Enterprise for Equity, so I'm so grateful.
During our next 20 years, our team will partner with Black, Indigenous, and other leaders of color to strengthen the foundations of our work and better serve entrepreneurs with a race equity lens and ensure that our training team reflects the diversity of our entrepreneurs. We will build new markets for businesses that have come out of our programs. We'll continue to have a triple bottom line with the training program. We'll fortify our paths to new sources of funding with additional microloans and bridges to local lenders. We'll strengthen and deepen the initiatives that create and have concentrated on agriculture, the arts, energy, conservation, and technology.
The idea that small businesses can really cause so much economic development in the region is so powerful for us, for me. And then seeing it executed throughout these years has been very helpful for my persistent involvement and continued involvement with Enterprise for Equity.
The statistics from this organization show that when people with limited resources get a chance to do what they love as a business and build their resources, they are able to advance their dreams, and they will always contribute to our community and make it better.
What would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs that want to follow their dreams?
I think it's really easy to doubt yourself and doubt your capabilities and doubt your reach. You should just go for it, even if you're scared. I think fear is our greatest hindrance.
Ask questions. Don't be afraid to sound silly, because you probably don't. Now is the time to be creative.
To a fellow entrepreneur who's trying to open their own business, I would say it's important to do all your homework. And if you're not one for doing homework, it's really great to have resources like Enterprise for Equity available so that you can get all of the information you need in one binder.
Patience is incredibly important, understanding, and confidence.
You have to be steadfast in your vision. You have to be persistent. You have to go beyond those no's and build character in turning those no's to yes. And that is the most valuable lesson. You just have to be steadfast in knowing your truth. I can't find anything that's more worthwhile to be doing and being a part of sharing it with others as owning a business.
The more we lower barriers for business ownership, the more we're going to have a diverse and vibrant local economy made up of lots of small entrepreneurs, and I think that benefits all of us. I recommend everyone take E4E if they're interested in becoming a business owner, and if you're not, I recommend supporting E4E because it's really vital to our community.
Hearing these amazing stories from locals just like you and me is nothing short of inspiring. They exemplify the idea of the American dream that any person from any background has the right to pursue their dreams to their fullest potential. It's encouraging to know that despite a lack of resources, entrepreneurs like Sophie, 3Det, Stephanie, and Jamie can turn to Enterprise for Equity for business training, coaching, and microloans to bring their ideas, services, and products to our community. Lowering the barriers to business ownership is the key to building equity into our economy. It's programs like Enterprise for Equity that have the power to shape the future of our region by empowering and equipping our future business leaders to build businesses focused on the triple bottom line: people, profit, planet. because caring for the planet and their community is actually good for business, and it's up to us to support this type of business culture for everyone involved. As these entrepreneurs build their financial well-being, their power to care for themselves and our community is that much stronger.
And that's why it's so vital to support the work of Enterprise for Equity, the work they do every single day in our region to support small businesses. So if you are able, please join me and contribute to Enterprise for Equity.
We need our partners, we need you, our community. And I hope you will join us in supporting Enterprise for Equity for our next 20 years.